Is God good all the time? And does He let us know things that are going to happen? Um, if we really want to know, will He share that information with us? Okay, who is the beast of Revelation 13? You know, a beast in biblical symbolism is a kingdom, a nation, a political power. Daniel, the book of Daniel, chapters 7, 8, 20, and 21 say that. Um, and God sent an angel to Daniel, just as he did to the Apostle John in Revelation. And in Daniel 7:16, Daniel says, I came near to one of those who stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known to me the interpretation of these things. So Daniel wanted to know the truth, and so God sent an angel to tell him plainly. Um, Daniel 7:17 states, those great beasts which are four kings which will arise out of the earth. And now, before democracy, a king was the nation or the kingdom or whatever, and he did what he wanted, and there was really not much accountability, and nobody else really had too much to say about it. So Daniel 7:23, then he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth. And that one has 10 horns, and it's different view of the same political power as the beast in Revelation 13 and 17. And Daniel was shown the future, and the Apostle John was shown past, present, and future. So there's a little bit of a different viewpoint there. And horns are kings or ruling powers. Daniel 8:21 says, the angel speaking to Daniel, and the male goat is the kingdom of Greece, and the large horn that is between its eyes is the first king. And the idea of representing a kingdom or a nation with some type of animal, that's an old idea. We do it these days. The United States is symbolized by the bald eagle. Russia is symbolized by a bear. And so this is not a new idea. This has been done for literally for millennia. So Revelation 13 and 17 both mention a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. And in Revelation 17, it's described as being scarlet. So does this beast resemble anything or anyone? Why don't we just go back one chapter to Revelation 12, verses 3 and 4? And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his heads. And verse 9 tells who this dragon is. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So the beast of Revelation 13 and 17 actually resembles Satan. Scarlet is the color of blood, so it sheds blood, this kingdom, as Satan does. Jesus said about Satan, he was a liar and a murderer from the beginning in John 8:44. So this kingdom or political power is satanic, and it sheds blood, the same as the devil does. So what about the beast? And I could read the whole chapter of Revelation 17, but I invite you and strongly encourage you to read it. It's not very long, and just in the interest of time, I'll just go on, and I won't read the whole chapter. But John sees a woman seated on this beast, and he marvels, and Revelation 17:7 says, but the angel said to me, why did you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman and the beast that carries her. See, the angel once again is going to make it plain. The beast that you saw was and is not and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition or ruin. And those who dwell on the earth will marvel when they see the beast that was and is not and yet is. Okay, this is a plate full, isn't it? Um, the beast, it was, and it no longer exists, and yet it will reappear. What political power throughout the Earth's history fits that description? Rome. The ancient Roman Empire existed and was great, and then it fell in 476 AD finally, and it ceased to exist. And then in the Middle Ages, the city of Rome just kind of revived more as an ecclesiastical or church authority. And the church had a lot of civil power. The church had broad civil authority. So apparently, in the last days, a powerful civil authority will come out of Rome, but it will be cut short and go to ruin. So, what about the seven heads? In Revelation 17, verse 9 and 10, here is the mind which has wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sits. There are also seven kings. Five have fallen, one is, and the other has not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short time. So, seven mountains is a physical place on earth, and a little bit more about that later. But the heads are seven kings. Five have fallen, one is now, like when the angel was speaking to John, and the other is in the future, and it will only be short lived. And the beast resembles Satan, who has worked through all of the kingdoms on earth who have persecuted God's people throughout the ages. And the number seven is an interesting number in the Bible. It's a number of completion, especially completion as time, completion of time. You know, the Lord created the earth in 6 days, and then on the seventh day, everything was finished, and he rested and, you know, set that time apart and made it special. So, this is the catalog of those nations throughout Earth's history who have persecuted God's people. Okay, head number one, Egypt, who enslaved the Hebrews, would not let them go, and Pharaoh sent his army after them when they finally left Egypt. Okay, that's head number one. Head number two, Assyria, who invaded the northern kingdom of Israel after the single kingdom of Israel split into two kingdoms, Israel to the north and Judah to the south. And you could read about that in 1 Kings 12. And Assyria brought the northern kingdom to an end. They took the people captive and, you know, took them away, and they settled and dispersed them far from their own land. That was a policy they used to do so they couldn't congregate and rise up again and, you know, fight against the Assyrians. So Assyria brought the northern kingdom of Israel to an end. The third head is Babylon, who invaded the southern kingdom of Judah and destroyed the temple built by Solomon, and that was King Nebuchadnezzar who was in charge of all that. And then they kept the the people of Judah captive for 70 years, and then finally they were able to come back to their own land. But then the fourth head is Persia, as we read in the Bible, when Haman tried to have the Jews in all of the provinces destroyed, but God worked through Queen Esther and Mordecai to put a stop to that, and they came out victorious in the end. And then head number five, Greece, between the Old Testament and the New Testament. I understand King Alexander the Great, he invaded Palestine, and there was religious persecution of the Jews apparently according to some of their religious rites. And then after that, head number 6, Rome, ancient imperial Rome, who under Herod the Great tried to destroy the newborn Christ, and who under Pontius Pilate crucified him. And then head number 7, a short-lived power in the future, in the last days of this earth's history. So verse 11 states, the beast that was and is not is himself also the 8th, and is of the 7, and is going to perdition. And that just sounds like just so complicated. But really, actually, this is probably the simplest way that the Lord could possibly describe it. The Empire of Rome, it existed and it was great, and then it fell and ceased to exist, and then it revived in the Middle Ages, like, more as a civil enforcer of church authority. And that's of the 7. So Rome is both the beast, the scarlet beast, and the 6th head. And the 10 horns and the waters, they're explained in verses 12 through 17. And in the interest of time, I won't go into that, but the angel explains them. And then the woman whom you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. A woman in Bible symbolism is a church. This one is both a city and a church, and she's Rome too, because there is that church, that ecclesiastical component to Rome, to the city of Rome. A church, a state, a city. It's just amazing. So she's seated on the beast, which is her civil enforcer, who, interestingly enough, is full of names of blasphemy, as it says in verse 3. A political power with names of blasphemy? That's interesting. So it would seem that the woman, the beast, and the 6th head of the beast, and also the 7th head, which is to come and remain only a short while, they're all different parts of Rome, and they're also interconnected, that it's actually hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. They're just so intermingled. And so the description, which actually, it seems so complicated, but it's actually probably about as simplified as we can get. So one more thing. The 7 mountains upon which the city sits, the city which reigns over the kings of the earth. I've been to Rome, and I've counted the hills, stood there and counted the hills that it's built on, and there are 7. So God has told us these things because he wants us to know what's going on, because he's good all the time.